All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is Wednesday, June 17th. It is 12:05. This is a meeting of the Town of Brookhaven's Industrial Development Agency. Following board members are present: Mr. Callahan, Mr. Palish, the road, Shite, Ron, or quorum is present. Lisa?
You reminded me that.
Okay.
Look at that text real quick. So we're gonna take a couple of things out of order. The first item that we're going to consider is WF Industrial 12 LLC. There's two letters. I just want to say there's two letters on your desk that were shared this morning. What is this? Yeah, that way you're on camera. So just to remind everybody, these are the spec industrial warehouse facilities on the north side of the LIE, north of the LIE, east of Sills. No, west of Sills, sorry. There are three buildings. Take away.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everybody. Daniel Baker, Greenberg Troward on behalf of WF Industrial 12. First off, I just want to say thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to address the board. We've had quite a bit of back and forth offline and at last next board meeting as to this matter. And for the most part, the discussion of what has been happening with the property and what is happening looking forward.
Okay.
Just some
No.
for the record, I did submit a letter from WF back in May on the 13th, I believe.
It was included in your packets.
Yeah, so the board has that letter, and that was a pretty detailed account of what has been happening, the timeline, and efforts by Wildflower for WF to not only gain the approval from the board and the town to construct the facility, and then what they did to try to traditionally build the three buildings. Because remember, we're talking about three buildings on the site. And of course, the letter details, we can also go into the detail of the significant events over the last few years that have made it incredibly difficult, not just for this property, but others like it, both locally and also regionally, nationally, to build these types of facilities. As a result of that difficulty, WF pivoted and looked towards utilizing this for a data center.
Okay.
I'm joined by Mike Bowden from Wildflower, West from Wildflower. Mike is going to take you a little more detail about the data center project and the efforts that have been going on for quite some time, not only with the town, but also other agencies that are involved, and hopefully give you information that better helps the board to understand what this facility is about. I'll just tell you from my own betterment on this topic, I've learned quite a bit in a short period of time about what data centers and this particular proposed data center would do in terms of the economic development and what it could mean locally and regionally, but also dispelling myths that surround them. And we've all heard it, right? It's in the newspaper, it's been on the news, particularly surrounding this site. And there's a lot of information that was this. Before I hand it over to Mike, I'd also just like to point out that I did send Lisa two letters that I think have been circulated now in support of the project. One is from the Hogland Group, the other is from the Nassau and Suffolk Building Trades, Matty Arisich. So those are two letters that are supportive from what I would call stakeholders that would of course be very interested in seeing a project like this move forward to help not only the people that they represent, but the community and the area locally, and most importantly, the town of Brookhaven and Suffolk County. So with that,
yeah, thank you, Dan. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Bowden with Wildflower. I'm a partner, director of development. It's nice to join you all. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I echo Dan's statements First and foremost was to be able to come in front of you and substantiate what was in the letter that we sent back in May to describe our efforts, what we've done to build the site and activate it as a warehouse use, which was our original intent. We spent significant effort. It was years of efforts. We've outlined that in the letter. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. We ran into some serious issues from a macroeconomic condition level, rising interest rates, tariffs coming into place. It was a significant challenge. We've been in touch with the town through this process. We've had discussions pretty openly. With those challenges, it's always been our intent to activate this site. We do not want this site to sit vacant. That's not our intent whatsoever. Our goal is to activate it. So, at a point in time when we were struggling with leasing the site, saw an opportunity, given the unique characteristics of this site with the 138 kV line that runs right through our site through a PSGLI easement. So that was in late 2024. We took it upon ourselves as an opportunity to make an application with an ISO for a 176 megawatt service request for interconnect. That was purposeful. We have an existing facility. Our intent was to stay within the existing facility. No proposed development beyond the footprint that's there, the buildings that are there. We worked with a team of engineers to figure out how can we activate the site highest the best use. We're far into that process now. I can't share too much. I'm limited with what I can share because of the conversations we're having with NISA and PSG Long Island. But we are at a point where we feel very confident that we can continue with this project. So what we've done in a very short amount of time is assemble our engineering, architect, and scientist and economist team to develop technical memos and support documents that we'll be able to share with you. We don't have them today, but our goal is by Friday or next week to be able to share those with everybody to substantiate some of what we're going to share today verbally with you. From a economic perspective, I think first and foremost, it's a significant positive impact this use as compared to the warehouse use. The projected tax basis increases almost 22 times what it is as a spec warehouse facility. That's a significant increase in tax basis for the town, the county, all stakeholders, residents.
So I can, that's comparing what taxes would be without a pilot versus what they would be with this project.
That's right. We're just talking, without the pilot in place, just to give you a comparison to think about the numbers. From a jobs perspective, this is a 2 to 3 year endeavor to build this out as a digital infrastructure facility or data center. We're talking about a capital investment of more than $1 billion. It's over 2 to 3 year period. First year would be focused on building substation on the site. Again, all the development that we're talking about today is within the confines of the site.
May I interrupt? I'm sorry. I want to this board passed a resolution recently that they are not going to be supporting data centers. So
Sure.
feel free to tell them about it, but I just
Yes.
want you to spin your wheels.
And the town is,
Town too.
is in July, and
Yes.
knowing the board is adopting a moratorium for 18 months. The
Yes.
state also has legislation on the governor's desk for a year moratorium.
Yes,
So,
So I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that
I do. If I can respond to that.
and can I ask one question?
So not great.
Some time ago, there was a sub lease of the roofs of these
Yeah.
buildings that came in for solar. Whatever happened to that?
It did not work out with that, at least. It didn't work out for us.
For you? Or for the
For both
solar
parties.
people?
So if I can respond in the context of, the recent events, which are a proposed moratorium, we're aware of it, we're aware of it stateless.
I wanna hear-
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, state, and we're aware.
And aware of what's happening at the.
of
I just wanted to make
as
sure.
well. I think what's important for us to share, and we're doing this in a very short amount of time, and this was always our intent, was to bring the project to the forefront and go through a regulatory process with the town on a permitting basis, just like we would for any other project. That was always our intent. What's important to explain is not every data center is the same. They operate differently. They use different amounts of power, different amounts of water, in different ways that they operate. So I think there's a few things if I can share, just so everybody has some context of what we're talking about here. You know, there's a lot of concern and misinformation out there recently in the news and on social media, right, about data centers, and it happened here locally in the town. It's very unfortunate, but what we want to make clear is this project, from a water perspective, it's an air-cooled system, it's a closed-loop system. We don't need any more water beyond what we already have serving the industrial facility. There is no impact on water resources. We have an innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment system, I think one of the largest in the county. For our facilities now, those will remain in place and service toilets and domestic water. That is it. Nothing is going to be injected into groundwater. It's an important distinction to make because the perception for these facilities is that they use a lot of water. And if they're not designed the right way, that could be true, but that's not the case with this project. Another one that is, important for us to identify, and it's a misconception, is the impact on power rates, right? So you make an interconnect to PSEG and Long, you go through a long process with them, regulatory, and any costs that come out of that study and findings are going to be the burden of us to build the infrastructure, which when you build a new substation in line with the system, and I can't share too many details about it, it helps with resilience in the system. That's what it is. So I think it is an important distinction to make for you all when thinking about this and understanding what our proposal is. Those two specific things, I can answer other questions if anyone has any. Those are really.
Aren't the rates affected by the demand and the amount of energy use? Because, we've been reading and studying this throughout the country.
Yeah.
And the demand of the energy that comes from these centers is increasing the rates for the regular homeowners.
Right, so we, as I mentioned before, we are very close to finishing a power study.
So-
with the consultant that's done this all around the country, that we will share with you, that has references to different utilities around the country, specifically Georgia Power and Light, who are now giving checks back to ratepayers as a result of construction of data centers in the market because of the significant influx of cost that's being spent. So
Well, the exact opposite's happening in Texas.
again, there are specific references in this report. It's going to go into very specific detail of how that works and how it works specifically here on the island.
And that's what the town is
Yeah,
causing this
let me ask you
because,
this.
just let me finish.
Okay,
They want to do the studies. We can hear what you say, but the
Right.
town wants their own studies regarding electrical and regarding water use.
Right.
And that's the reason for the moratorium. It's gonna be, studies beyond what just the town could do. It's gonna have to involve LIPA, sorry.
Well, that was, I have no problem with data centers. I think they're beneficial, okay, tremendously beneficial, and I think a site at your site could very easily allow for rebuildings that are now vacant. That doesn't mean they're always gonna be vacant, but are now vacant, to be used in a positive manner for the school district, for the town, for the county, for the state. But having said that, we are to some degree precluded by a resolution we passed last month, but resolutions can be changed. But a resolution that obviously looks like it's gonna be passed by the town board, which is much more important than we are, in the foreseeable future, next month, whatever it is, okay? So my question is, assuming that happens, assuming the town board passes such a resolution in July or August, whatever. What are you asking us to do at the moment to allow the project to be alive, for lack of a better term, when the town moratorium expires? Because that's really the time period that we're controlled by, is when the town moratorium, assuming the governor doesn't sign the bill or signs the bill, whatever, doesn't matter. But when the town moratorium expires, what are you asking us to do so that the project is alive then?
And
So,
before you answer that, I just want to add to what Mitch just said and just remind everyone that you voted to terminate this project and we
Yes.
sent it to a
No,
full
I get it.
and well, I just want to make sure
I
everybody.
get it. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right,
So-
and recapture.
so let me answer first and then Mike can
Okay,
chime in with anything he feels needs to or I left out. So understanding fully what your question is, that's why we're here, right? We would have happily been here sooner. But the events that I'm not gonna say necessarily led to the action here to default terminate happened very quickly. We would have loved to have come in the end of last year, early this year, sooner to do exactly what we're doing now.
Right.
Everything has sort of mashed up, partly because I think we were caught off guard. That's us. We were caught off guard by the board's action here, knowing full well that the job creation didn't happen at the end of December. Right? We know that. And, but we've been having ongoing discussions, with staff. So we, again, we're a little caught off guard by the quick, we're looking at it as quick action over the last 2 months.
But even if,
At the
it-
same time,
okay, sorry.
at the same time, the town has now moved in a quicker fashion than I think was anticipated or expected. There is a team of people working on this project, and I think in the last month, certainly a few weeks, and even bigger team, putting together all of the analyses and reports that Mike mentioned earlier, all kinds of different things, whether it's related to power, whether it's related to economic development, whatever it might be, that was anticipated to happen over the next, let's say, 3, 4, 5 months, that's now being done in 3 to 4 weeks, and it's going to be comprehensive. So to your point or question, Mitch, what are we asking for? We're asking for a timeout to not move forward with termination, because terminating this project leads to a whole host of other issues, which is, a default here in turn can lead to a default with their lender. This isn't a little project, it's a big project. To lose financing or have trouble there will probably put an end to everything. I don't know, how they proceed.
So,
Recapturing $5 million is, in the grand scheme of things, the numbers we're throwing out, not big, but at this moment, it, again, hand in hand with the issues that will come about through the lender are, potentially a death knell for any project. And that means, look, who knows what's gonna happen locally and statewide as far as data centers go. I don't know enough to really know, but I know enough to believe that without them, we're all gonna have trouble. And it's not what people think, right? Part of the analysis is showing that, data centers aren't just artificial intelligence. It's not, things that are being put up to take over the world, right? It's helping healthcare systems, it's helping school systems, helping all kinds of different things in a lot of different ways, right? So it's an important project. I think part of the analysis is that this, this is not a project that can happen anywhere. This location, putting aside the IDA ramifications and where the town is right now, if it were to happen, it's perfectly set up for it. The 3 buildings are there. And again,
were you
have-
proposing all 3 buildings with the data centers?
Yes,
all 3.
And,
it doesn't change the connection request.
well, that's a lot. And how would you meet your job creation numbers since there's really no employees there?
So, well, for now, there's none, and that's part of the difficulty.
Well, when it's data center, there won't be any,
There will be less. No, there are
how many,
50. So it's
50 employees?
a little less
That's my
than a
question.
quarter of what was projected.
right.
But there are, and again, the reports and analyses are gonna show the spin-off. In addition to the construction jobs that will come about, and we're talking about more than 1,000 for that initial 2 to 3 year period. And then after, every 3 to 5 years, because we see the way all of these things are working, they will in essence have to come back and retrofit all of the equipment and, machinery, materials that go in to the tune of, again, hundreds of millions of dollars each time, creating, well, we'll get to that in a second, hundreds and thousands of jobs each time they have to come back in. Again, so
The one,
it's a repetitive,
that's what I'm telling
job creation every few years that is gonna be for the most part local. In addition to that, the tax burden is significantly increase. And again, you can't release the numbers yet because they're still being finalized, but in essence, if I'm not mistaken, taxes without the pilot now would be somewhere just north of $1 million a year, close to 2. We're talking about 40 million a year after this. And just so I think we're upfront here, the wildfire is not going to see additional benefits from the border enhancement benefits through that. So it's a full private investment in what's happening. We just need to be able to get it. And for now, the problem with getting there is the pause that the town is taking, and potentially the state, is making it difficult here.
So so leaving, well, not leaving aside, obviously, there are some things over which this board does not have control. We think there are small, but they're some things we don't have control. Either what the state does or what the town board does. They will do their own thing in that regard. So in reality, what you're asking us to do is to basically give you a 2-year timeout.
Or an extension if that's.
Or whatever language we, so that the status quo would continue until either the town or the state or both allow, if they allow the data center at this location to move forward. They may decide the answer is no, which eliminates our prerogative completely. The only prerogative we would have is if they all decided the answer is yes. And then you could go forward there with their blessing or imprimatur or whatever. And then you would need for the financing to be reinstated. Is that a fair analysis of where we are?
I think the only thing I'd say is the 2 years is under the pretense that moratorium goes through.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean, right. You know, as I said, the town may decide it's gonna be a year, maybe decide 18 months, may decide 2 years.
Right.
That's
Maybe
for,
6 months.
you know, I was thinking that's for them to decide in that regard, or, you know, what conversations occur between you and the town between now and then. You know, whatever. Those are things we can't control, but basically what you're asking us to do is to give a pause in proceedings during that period of time until we see, the collective we, see whether or not a data center at this site is permissible.
Correct.
That's basically what you asked, that's it. Okay.
Can I expand on Annette's
Got it.
point about just say if this was to be completed and we had 50 jobs, you said permanent jobs at that site. Can you give an idea what the salary range would be?
I'd say it's more highly skilled workforce, like these operations require folks that can operate pretty technical systems. I don't have a number to share with you right now, but in our report, I'll make sure that we put that in there and share it with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
But these would be I think the question is, these would be technical engineering
It's
jobs.
a skilled workforce, likely high, like, you know, the construction side alone is very complex construction. We're talking about large substations, very skilled
Or
tradesmen that have.
Suffolk Union.
And then same for
technician?
the facility and the operation in perpetuity.
Which
Okay.
would likely be different than what the workforce would be, just typical Stanters warehouse, labor, you know, laborers.
That's an important point if you could put that in.
Yes.
Are you operating this or leasing the facility to an operator? And the other question for us. I was at a conference within this past month, upstate, and there were discussions about data centers having to provide their own power.
I understand.
With an excess going back into the grid. You know, can you access power outside of Long Island, upstate, and then do something, New Hampshire, and wheel it through?
Pretty solar.
Yeah, so first question, as far as the user, right, we're at a point in time right now, right, identified user. Critically important, my users are very sophisticated, they see what's going on, it's conversations, right, here or somewhere else. The only way you get them to do this, is when you have the capacity, the power and the capacity. I think what's important, I think in mind is data centers have been around a long time. And touched on it, they impact and assist healthcare, so universities, any large institution that needs data. It impacts our daily lives. Everybody here has a computer and a cell phone. That doesn't operate unless we have data centers. So again, it reiterates the point that it may not necessarily be an AI specific use, but AI is a very general term. So, right now we are working to make sure we can convince the users that this is where they want to be. And this is to us, a transformational project for the region. I mean, we're in close proximity to Brookhaven Lab, which is doing groundbreaking research and development.
We just heard it last
Yeah,
year.
we did.
To facilitate that kind of work into the future, is utilizing computation analysis that rely on data centers to aid in discovering new ways in healthcare, new ways in scientific discoveries. Like this is what's happening. This is what's being supported by these facilities. To go to your second question about where we can source the power from. Again, I'm pretty limited in what I can share on from a grid perspective, but generally how the NISO transmission system works, they're the oversight committee for transmission of the entire state. So when we went through that, or still in that very long process, regulatory process with them, they're doing, I mean, this is a year and a half for them to do, to analyze the system. And in May, they approved the study scope on the findings. So, you know, they're looking at it holistically, the entire state, not just Long Island, not just upstate.
When I was at the conference, it sounded like somebody was working on one somewhere upstate. How it was coming from, you know, from Austin.
Yeah,
Based on.
you know, there may be a world where that could happen. It is dependent on the state and how it's regulated. Discussion with the local utility provider.
It's probably a
Opposed to
localized
NISO.
thing, I'm guessing why. I only say that because I just started working on it. They're way upstate. They have hydroelectric power.
Sure too.
Yeah, so that's convenient.
What are some of the operators?
That's what.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, Microsoft, Oracle, these are operators that are running large operations and small operations all over the country. But then you also have, developers that are focused on running and operating data centers and have users. And those users, again, can range from all the different, types of businesses that I just shared.
Wildflower operating any data centers now.
We are not. You know, this was a unique reposition and opportunity for us. We had a significant challenge in front of us. We've worked very hard to figure out how to activate this site. And this was one of those paths. And after a lot of research and a lot of time, it is the highest and best use for this site.
Hey, Lisa, I have a question. How long has this project been on the books already with us?
We closed this
Okay.
project.
Couple of years, 2 years,
for-
a year?
Yeah, 2 years, because they were supposed to have,
The job
You're
period,
supposed to have something.
December,
2 years.
so.
and in a year or 2 years, if they do pass a moratorium, whether it be the state or the town, how would you pivot if they say no data centers?
It's a great question. I think Dan touched on it before. We're gonna do everything we can. We're gonna continue to push, but
I definitely have plan B because they're pushing for no data centers, so I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but we did have interest from some recreational users, but much smaller scale, right? And combining a recreational user with an industrial user on a campus like this is not conducive to an operation.
I have two sort of follow-up questions. One of those 50 employees, how many are gonna be technicians,
roughly, and how many are gonna be engineers?
I don't have the number, but I'll make
Okay,
sure,
please.
that we get to the report, which is.
The other question has to do with what I understood you to say, and I want to make sure that I got it right. That part of the proposed activity on the site is that you would build a substation?
So just to facilitate the interconnect to the line that's there,
Yeah, so that
when you think that.
normally substations serve a sizable community of users. You represent that sizable community of users.
Yeah.
That's
it's,
why you're
we
building the
do
substation.
a lot of development, power all around New York and around this, in the.
This facility needs its own substation, is what you're saying.
Yes, but any
Yeah.
facility that's over, I'd say 5 to 10 megawatts is gonna need a substation. Because it's called that just because the equipment gets larger, quite honestly.
It's not a substation, it's a substation.
Yeah, it's
For lack of a better
It-
term.
it's the same equipment, transformers and things of that nature, just at a larger scale when you get into higher levels of power.
Are you guys thinking about finding someone for solar on the roof that might, because that would offset your need and your usage somewhat? I know you said that one, the last one didn't work out, but is that something that you're still pursuing?
We're, evaluating all options with our teams, right, of what we can do to look into alternative ways to have backup generation as a source, and in the future on-site generation. A lot of that is dictated by the user who comes in. They have very different ways of operating.
So they might not want solar on,
Well, it's not so much that, it's more so what are the other things that are also available out there, geothermal, fuel cells, different types of technology. That would be evaluated in a very specific way as the project is to advance.
Other questions from the board?
And maybe I would just, there aren't, I'll just say one last thing, because we did touch on it just now and a little bit before. As part of, what do we want, right? That was Mitch's question, what did we ask him for? That was asked and answered very well, appreciate that. Certainly in the short run, heard us now mention it several times, that reports and analysis of are being done, that will be done in a short period of time. I think in a few.
Days.
Days, but I was, I'm an attorney, couple of weeks. But in the most short run, we certainly want the ability to produce, finish the production of those reports and submit them to you. Also recognizing that in a few weeks, or a couple of weeks, there's going to be similar discussions happening with the town board. And, I think, as I said earlier, I've been educated quite a bit in the last month. And I think the main goal, as I see it, for the full team here and others who are doing this statewide is to create that educational support, because I think there is a lot of misinformation on these. It's very easy to get caught up in the dynamic, AI generated type, things that go out and you see everywhere and, oh my God, the data center is going to crush the whole world. There's more nuance to that. So I think it's important, we feel it's important that you have all that information for any further action takes place, or we get to a point where we can find at least an interim solution, which is some form of extension. Allow them to flesh out.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Still going through that.
It's even different. The problem with Long Island is the water usage over a sole source aquifer.
Yep,
That's the real.
absolutely.
But if that's not,
That's all we got.
if they can prove that's not a problem, then why is it a problem?
Well,
Let
that's
them
why
prove-
we,
Let
that's,
them prove it's not a problem.
well, it's not that.
It is a problem.
That's what the town has.
No, I understand that.
It's not an interested
I
party,
understand.
because they're gonna slant.
Right, whoever does it.
Run the battery storage.
And the state.
The state's gonna have to do it. Listen, the state may come in and say, no moratorium to the longer keep.
Okay.
Find out.
And the substation, rather than the substation is still, is gonna be built to serve a single facility.
No, but that's not. I mean, I got a problem with that.
So let's,
Mixed use development.
Boys and girls.
One
Sorry.
report.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
getting a gavel.
next item on the
Now
agenda
we know what the
is
president is.
a resolution. resolution for the L&M Fund Management to LLC / Lake Ronkonkoma HF LLC project. We held a public hearing this morning. There was no participation and no comment. Just to remind everybody, this is the existing over 62, Section 8 housing project. All the documents were included in your packets, and this is the final authorizing resolution. Does anybody have about that? Oh, yeah, it's in your packets. There was an article in Newsday about it. It's in your packets. Did anyone have any questions?
Lisa, you have a couple people on if you want me to bring you in. For L&M, that's Drew Preffer again.
No, I don't think, unless,
I think-
if somebody has questions for them, we can bring them in, but did anyone have any questions about the project?
As I said, I mean, we discussed it last time. The concept is fantastic. The need is undeniable, okay? The only concern I had, and I expressed it last month, was I'm not thrilled that the amount of taxes post-resolution will be paid, that are gonna be paid, are less than the amount paid now. That's my only, because that's what it says. They're going down by $400,000 in real property taxes that are being collected now by the school district and other entities. I'm not arguing that is not worthwhile. I'm not thrilled with that part of the project. The rest of it, I strongly support, and I will support the resolution, but I'm just wanted to express my concern about that because I'm concerned that we're taking money away that is already being collected. If it wasn't being collected, that wouldn't even be
I
a
think that's all
discussion,
our concerns.
but that's my only concern.
That's,
And this would be for 20 years, which matches what their approval for continuing the Section 8 program would be. But the understanding that if that gets, and this was part of the public hearing, if that gets extended, the plan would be extended for an additional 10 years.
If.
How'd the public hearing go?
As usual.
I was by myself and I
Oh.
sat there by
So
myself.
no big concern.
Yeah.
No, they danced.
If there's no further questions, would somebody care to move it?
I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is job creation numbers. So every January, I guess, we ask our projects to certify to us how they're doing on what they promised us as far as job creation is concerned. And we go through and we call out anybody who hasn't met they're off by a little bit. But we go through and we had 6 projects that did not meet their creation numbers. One of them, and I included in your packets the letters that we received from them. One of them was Belfort Residences, which is DNF Belfort. And Fred and I went through these, so there's 6 of them. I can just sort of go through each of them. Sorry.
Let me short stuff. This is just say
Yeah,
that
thank
we went through all 6. I think there are logical explanations. And we're recommending that what they have submitted be accepted.
For DNF.
Correct.
Okay, yep. For DNF, September morning. And one more.
Pepper Morning is the one in the Shirley Industrial Park that's supposed to. They've got one tenant now and expected to have a second one. They start producing interesting bakery products.
Oh, you know,
Interesting bakery,
Right,
not just bakery products.
right. Very interesting bakery
Mhm.
products.
And
I
also.
think there was a time that I used to eat some of those kinds of.
I don't think so. Don't think so. Maybe I don't know you well.
Oh, the bait we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a different kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And NAFL provisions, those three, their explanations were, reasonable, and NAFL provisions is the, company that opened a second, they expanded their operations to an existing building in, I want to say Holtzville.
Okay,
So those three, we went through and we found everything satisfactory. WHTV glass, so they continue not to make their job creation numbers. I think you guys will remember last October.
yeah, consistent.
Last October, they came in and they told us that they were trying. They're still not at their, where they're supposed to be at. They're at 38, they're supposed to have 50. It's been a few years now that they haven't quite got to what they told us they would get to.
I thought we gave them a pass until the end of 26, but I don't know if that was reduced to a resolution or not.
So
I mean, there were a lot of explanations, and when they presented, including tariffs and a lot of other things.
Weren't they expanding their building or moving to another location?
No.
no,
That wasn't them?
They
no,
built the building, didn't they?
Yeah.
No,
They were doing glass.
yeah,
The glass was coming from China.
correct.
yep.
I thought they were
They
expanding.
came in and thought,
Expand their operations, make some changes to their operations,
Right.
but their footprint and their location was gonna remain the same. And, you know, it's, the letter says material tariffs on imports impacted their construction and glazing industries nationwide. You know, projects are delayed, put on hold. I'm not gonna read anything that's gonna, it's not shocking, any of it.
So how far off are they?
12.
Well,
Yeah, so they said 50, they told us they would have 50, in fact, they had 38, which is up, the year before they had 33, so they
All
did,
right.
they
they
did.
hired. But that is still
John,
only
we used to look at
76%.
if they're 85% of what they originally projected, that's kind of the range. That
Right.
Mhm.
You want to go to the end of the year?
Yes,
Listen,
We
we
give them
can,
to the end of the year, I
Yeah.
mean,
yes.
in,
Especially if we already did.
and I think I thought when we talked to them in October, we said, well, in December, we'll be back to ask for this, and this is the
This is
December.
good.
So just, I don't want to actually say this out loud, but December's right around the corner anyway, so.
Just bad thought.
It's the little sweaters out.
You started your Christmas shopping already?
Done.
Oh,
That was from last year. Okay, so we'll reconvene with them in December. The other
well,
one,
we should let them know that.
I think,
No,
I
we're-
think we did.
Well, we should
Yeah.
let them again, that
Yeah.
we discussed it again. And
Okay,
but, so what we do is we send out their annual reports. If we have any questions, they send us a letter, and then they don't hear from us again unless we need them to come in and present. So I think they're fine that they sent the letter. But I can write to them and say.
I just think it would be beneficial in this case, to let them know the board discussed it again and are giving them, understand the parameters that they're operating under and give them until the end of the year, and we would request you come back in December and January to discuss further. I think that would be
You
beneficial.
want them to come in
Yeah.
December or January? Okay,
I'd
so
like
then,
to-
but let's push it to like January or February,
Fine.
if you're
Yeah,
okay with that,
yeah.
Fine.
because that gives them time to give us the December
And it gives us
31st.
year-end numbers.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
Fine. I
Okay.
just think that would be beneficial.
Great.
And they know we discussed. it.
Yeah, they are under deeper scrutiny at this
Correct.
point.
That's a good term. That's like substation.
Thank you for the clarification.
I cleaned stuff up and I brought a lot of stuff today. Seven.
And those other three were, their problems are understandable and not permanent. You know, they're straining there.
So the other projects, we have two others. So many copies of everything. I don't know what I did. The other two, 4L is one of them. They are actually a spec warehouse. Well, it wasn't spec because they did have one user when they first came in, but a warehouse space that they've added additional end users in. And again, they have not met their job creation. It's been sort of ongoing with them as well. They told us 42, they're at 33. That's to 79%. You know, they're on the border as yeah, they're on the cusp. As I speak to them, they tell me that they probably miscalculated in their application how many jobs were realistic for their facility. And so I think this is going to be an ongoing problem. They do have 3 subtenants in there. The one subtenant, Vantage, has been there since day one. They've got it was e-commerce holding. The same owners it came to you guys. You had the subtenant application a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago at this point, but e-commerce is now, they moved that entity out, and Aster Pharmaceuticals, same owners, moved the other one in. Five employees before, 5 employees now. So they've been there for a long time. And then Heritage Landscape, they have 13 employees. And they are in one of our other locations also. So that's a local company that's doing pretty well. So I you know, it is benefiting these 3 small companies to have the property tax abatement for.
Because it will affect their rent.
Yes. So there's that one. I don't know if you guys want to do anything with it, or again, you want to wait and see.
Just do the same thing, I mean, they're close, the
Okay.
numbers, right?
And then the
But
last,
if they miscalculated, does that mean that they have recalculated the number of employees they think they're gonna wind up at? Or they still think they can make that number?
well, I think what's going on is that they're like, we've got 3 entities in here.
Mhm.
There's, it's not like they have a vacant space that they're like, when this 4th company comes in, we're trying to
Oh,
sell it.
these 3 are filling the building?
They're filling the building. It's a small building.
Mhm.
So I think they realize that they've got their 3 end users in
Mhm.
there, and they're probably not gonna suddenly squish people into corners.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
got
yeah.
what they've got. So I think they probably if they had ended up with only 2 end users, they probably would have had more employees, because you know, everything takes space. You have
Yep.
a 3rd end user, you have walls and bathrooms and all that.
Closets and all that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of the issue.
So should we readjust their targets?
Is Howard on?
Yeah, hold on. I keep trying to bring him in, but
Or
We're just allowing to talk.
Howard, can you hear?
Love to see them.
Howard,
Okay.
do you, did you hear what Anne Marie just asked? She asked if we should consider changing the job creation expectations for 4L. Since they struggled to make their job creation, but they do have 3 steady subtenants in there,
And they're full.
and they're full. I think Howard might be having some technical issues.
Can you hear me now, please?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Hi, so I'm sorry about that. I unfortunately I had to do some traveling, and I was listening in the car while, and I switched over, so I lost some of this. I didn't realize that 4L was on the calendar for today. I didn't remember seeing it on the agenda. But I have a view, which is, you know, just my opinion, is we gave them a certain amount of benefits in response to a certain number of employees. Do you think maybe you want to prorate it in some way in terms of the benefits? If
Well,
they're not
one
gonna
of the
meet
things we were just talking about was that then impacts the subtenants more so than the project.
the
That I can't be certain of without reviewing their subleases.
Right,
Um,
true, might not be a triple net.
In many instances, the subtenants lawyers will negotiate clauses so that if the reason for the reduction in the benefits is not because of their subtenants' actions or omissions, the benefit loss will be suffered by the landlord. But I can't say whether or not their lawyers did that without reviewing their leases, because I don't remember off the top of my head.
So why don't, Howard, why don't you and I look at this and we'll report back?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we should adjust their expected jobs because we'll run into that again and again. For people that miss their
Okay,
expectations. So we either deal with it, and give them a pass, or we adjust the pilot rather than adjust their expectations.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Howard and I will, we will review that. And then the last project that didn't make the job creation numbers is, WF 13. Different than WF 12, just to confuse everybody. This is the one that last time we discussed, there was a after hours party. My understanding is that that was, they pulled those and they won't be, having those events anymore.
So they resolved their issues with the town.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
For that one, they did, yeah.
Okay.
But maybe I could
Because
add-
as of last
It
time.
was
that had not been
canceled.
done.
Since I'm still here.
Yeah.
Just
And that can tell me if I'm wrong or not, I don't know, but my understanding after discussing this last month was that normally over there.
We just,
Dan Baker. My understanding after getting more feedback from not just my client, but the tenant pickleball heaven, I guess, explained it a little better that they have had discussions with the fire marshal, also the building department. They're trying to restructure their layout a little bit to accommodate things better, but the concern from the fire marshal was not an overcrowding issue. It was more a noise issue in the sense that they were concerned that if they were playing music and it was getting louder inside, somebody might not hear a fire alarm or a smoke alarm or something like that. So they're installing a cutoff, an automatic cutoff system that in the event the alarms go, the sound, the music, everything gets cut. That was my understanding.
At the request of the fire marshal.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so,
Stay here.
yeah, while you're there, so they told us they would have 42 and a half FTEs in the original application. They currently have 22. The letter included in your packets explains that Pickleball Heaven is the only subtenant in there right now. There is space that they're trying to rent. And hopefully when that space gets rented up, they'll make up the difference to, the 20 or so FTEs that they fell short on. And they also explained that Pickleball Heaven is still in the process of hiring fully, so that they hopefully at the next.
Yeah, I asked that question. I didn't get an answer yet on if they've increased since
Okay.
the 22, but certainly, as soon as I get that information, I'll send it to you,
Okay.
but I would hope by next meeting.
Okay, but so I would assume by December they will have more. That doesn't really indicate in this letter that they're gonna get to 42.
I don't know,
I think
I don't know that
Pickleball
pickleball,
low,
will, but the
right.
hope is to have another users
So it's
to
an end of the year.
get them there and see.
So this is another,
We'll review at the end of the year.
or if you have anything in the interim you wanna.
Of course, I'll
Yes.
pass.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, Dan,
Yeah.
if by some chance they added.
Yeah.
5 or 6 employees,
Everything helps.
we would, that's right.
Yeah.
We would know that, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Did anyone have any other questions for Dan? Oh, we've got him in the hot seat.
That seat was cooler. Hold on.
Okay, boys and girls, WF 12. Thoughts?
I don't think the state or the town's gonna change anything with the data center, to tell you the truth. Not that they did anything yet, but when they come up in the next month or two. it's gonna be at least an 18-month, 12-month or an 18-month moratorium. They've been on the books already for 2 years. I mean, day late, dollar short, I guess. I'm not, how I feel, but.
It is a little disturbing to hear them say that they they are intending to manage the data center, operate the data center themselves when they have never been in that business. I am.
No, they didn't, I think they're looking for somebody, but they don't have anybody.
Right,
Am I correct, Dan?
yeah, it would be like
Users don't
Microsoft.
Sign on at this stage, they need a little more
That's what I
meat on the
heard.
bones.
When you say user,
Oracle,
you mean
Microsoft.
operator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And use,
Ten.
yeah, but.
I
it's
said,
not
listen,
gonna-
from my perspective,
Not gonna happen soon.
you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. Okay? This may or may not be a permissible use. We don't know the answer to that question at the moment. Until a variety of studies and analysis is done by a variety of entities beyond us. I would be concerned about precluding the option if the powers that be, either at the town level or the state level, decide that the data centers are appropriate and this is a good site to do it in. So, I would, myself, I would support pausing or doing something to allow the process to continue. Maybe in the interim, we adjust the pilot to some degree to get some benefit back in that regard. I would leave that to the powers that be beyond me. But I think I wouldn't want to have a situation where the town and the state decide 18 months from now, 2 years from now, whatever it is, this is an appropriate use at this site and it can't happen because of some action we took. The likelihood that something else is gonna happen there in the next 18 months, 2 years is slim if they're going down this path.
Years and nothing's
Years.
happened.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but also,
Then we go from there. But that would be, I wouldn't want to preclude the option if the option is possible.
I agree. I think there's a huge amount of education that's going on right now. But at the state level, town level, and our level. I mean, I'm very interested to see the various studies that they bring back and see what that looks like.
Or the ones the town does themselves.
Exactly.
right,
I'd be interested very much in finding, I don't wanna preclude knowing what the answer is gonna be without knowing what the answer is gonna be.
Can the pilot be adjusted?
Of course.
yes.
Well, then I would be up to, instead of a full free ride, adjusting the pilot to, we find out what's gonna be going on with data centers.
And maybe we could find out more about what happened with the solar subtenant, because at least if there was some construction going on there, some jobs. And I could talk to Dan about that.
We're
Be
having
up to change the
voted
pilot.
the last meeting.
Get some more money, right?
Can
Well,
we,
you could leave that as is till we negotiate with them about the pilot, Barry.
Yeah, I would work on the pilot.
And then we can bring it back.
yeah,
Yep.
I think
And that would
that
be a negotiated settlement.
Yeah.
And the other question I would have going forward, I mean, they mentioned 40 or 42 million dollars in taxes if it were fully assessed and fully paid. Well, does the pilot cover the whole thing, or we should negotiate something in between?
well, at the moment,
There's nothing there.
there's nothing there.
That's correct.
I understand.
Right.
Commercial
Have them come back
assessments
next month
based on
after.
occupancy.
Yeah.
Crunch the numbers
So
and
I
see.
think we could come to a settlement.
I think it's important to try and do. And if
Yep, I
if
agree.
the powers that be decide this is a great spot and they want it,
Then we.
then we
do
move
it.
forward.
It
If
is
they
in the
decide,
compatible growth area.
if they decide not, then they have buildings that they're gonna have to lease, or
Need a resolution.
we're gonna take them over.
And determination.
I
I
wouldn't
don't
do that yet.
I would just let it ride for them.
Just,
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have to do
let's
anything.
Let it
do our
ride for them.
negotiation while we still have that
Yeah,
in our box.
Okay.
let it ride for them.
Okay.
But I think we should see what we can work out.
Is there a change of zone required?
There may be, we're not sure that data centers are an L1 use. But that's gonna be all fleshed out
Yeah.
Right.
in our moratorium.
Yeah.
Right.
We're now seeking opinion on that, and working on that also.
And then what is the basic aversion for the town, the data centers? Like, what's the purpose of that? The basic aversion to data centers.
So what they're worried about is the impact to
Water
electric
and
rates and supply.
Mhm.
And they're also worried about the aquifer.
Mhm.
And, you know, a fuel cell was mentioned, that draws enormous amounts of water. So.
Yeah.
It's what what type of generation of power. The state's talking about having on-site power generating, like solar fields and things like that.
Yeah.
Solar arrays,
Another caffeine.
windmills, to generate their own power.
Mhm.
Because
With
there's
access.
already, that we already last year had to use the peaker plants in summer and the winter more
Yes.
than we ever have
Correct.
in the last decade.
And there was an article. in the
And there's
paper
an article in today's
today
paper
about
about
they're
I
gonna
didn't see the
PSE
paper.
and G doing a whole
redoing
new
all
analysis.
this, yeah.
I'm sure that fits in with
Mhm.
this context.
And they
to
did talk
determine-
about
Absolutely,
the battery
they have to be
storage.
part of the project.
Absolutely.
the
part
battery
of the
storage
study.
too. They're
Yeah.
talking about zinc.
And
using
then if
zinc
they're
that's not-
talking about
I saw that.
alternatives, solar in particular is an alternative source. The current, as I understand it, the current technology for ensuring that the maximum amount of sunshine gets into the guts s- is a lot of water gets used to get rid of the dust that
On
prevents.
the solar panels?
Yes.
No.
Oh, no, I know that I'm
can
right
tell you
about
we
this
have them.
one.
I've never seen them put water in them.
I know that this is an issue because we have an incubator company that's figured out some electrostatic process.
Maybe that's out in the Midwest.
They
For-
think-
to
Where
clean
it's
'em.
dusty.
Yep,
I seen
Yep.
something in the paper. about
Cornfield,
that.
Yep.
to ensure
Recently.
enough
Like, the month-
sunlight, we are moving the site to
But
San
he-
Diego.
Yeah.
With peace.
Well, he also mentioned geothermal, which would
Yeah,
probably be the answer.
yeah.
It's an option too.
Or.
Well, we'll know all of that when the analysis is.
Small gas turbines. The other thing that's coming up.
What is it?
Small gas
turbines.
Yeah.
I love alternative sources of power, I just.
But
wanna
they
make
can
sure
use
we know
there are some
what we're
really,
getting into.
really.
I like a mini caffeinus.
Very small, very.
Nice little one.
Has been and costs.
Everyone,
Mhm.
so you gotta figure out. just-
All right.
All right, Dan, you got,
If I may,
Dan,
just on that,
Sure.
you got another day.
so implicit in all of that discussion was that Barry is not going to send me termination documents.
Barry is instructed.
Barry's not
We're
saying.
gonna call you.
Yeah.
He will not
Not-
mail them.
There you go.
Depends how
That's what I
reasonable you
said.
are in
That's send
adjusting
them.
the pilot.
He's leaving early for the weekend.
If there is nothing further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank